Duolingo and Memrise. Two language learning apps I used when I first started learning foreign languages on my own a little over a decade ago. Well, until I stopped using them in favor of other language learning methods such as Assimil and Michel Thomas. But I digress. Anyway, I remember having a good time back in the day and actually learning a good deal with both of them. One of these apps used spaced repetition as its main gimmick, whereas the other continuously threatened to kidnap my family if I didn't do my daily lesson.
But these are just some minor details. Anyway, I recently decided to reinstall both apps to see if they were as much fun as they were back in 2014 and 2015, and a few months later, I thought, hey, why not make a video in which I compared both to see which one reigns supreme? So without further ado, let's begin.
May the best app win.
Now, one good thing about Duolingo is that right off the bat, they ask you how much of the language you already know. And in cases where you have some previous knowledge of the language, they even offer you a placement test. And after the placement test, or even if you did not do a placement test, they allow you to cheat. What I mean by cheating is that even without doing the previous unit, you can still take a test to see if you know the vocabulary or grammar of said unit. Now, Duolingo's structure hasn't really changed since I first started using it back in the day. This is good and all, but are there any new mechanics? What makes it stand out, basically? Well, there are a few things I noticed that weren't there before. For example, they allow you to see the main content of a unit without actually doing it, which is a nice change, I guess. But in my honest opinion, it kind of makes the app feel less fun, and it can incite learners to take some time off the app, learn the content, come back, do the test to get to the next unit, and then bam, done. Now, I will say this, however. This can be good if you have a busy schedule and don't want to do your daily lesson each day. Yeah, we'll come back to that. But if Duolingo wants players to spend more time on their app, I really don't see this helping. However, I will say this. To my big surprise, there actually is a change that I think can make people use the app more often, and that is the stories. I don't know how long this has been a thing, but I found these stories really enjoyable, and this really gives the app a brand new life and can give veteran users like myself a reason to come back. I know a lot of people can get bored of Duolingo because its approach, although fine on paper, gets old and repetitive really quick. In each lesson, you have a mix of speaking, fill in the blanks, translating, and listening. That's it. It's useful, but really repetitive. And that's why I think adding a stories feature makes the learning experience more memorable. So that's for Duolingo. Now, what about Memrise? Well, as I said in the introduction, Memrise's approach is mostly based on spaced repetition, and as such, considers every word or expression as a little flower. Aww. Yeah, I know, right? And basically, the first time you learn a word, you plant a seed in your brain. And how do you go from a little seed to a beautiful flower? Well, that's easy. Basically, in each lesson, you review vocabulary you have already learned, and you sometimes learn more along the way. And to make the flower grow, basically, the more you repeat a word, the more the flower associated with a word or expression grows. So Memrise still uses the same approach as they did back in the day, and I really appreciate that. However, whereas I notice how Duolingo has improved since 2015, I'm really struggling to see any improvement for Memrise. Allow me to explain myself. Back in the day, they really had a lot going on. For starters, whereas now you learn something new by listening to native speakers, you used to learn words in a silly context, mostly with memes, which were commonly referred to as memes, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how the app got its name, memes, Memrise, yeah, so that's for that. However, these memes are now a thing of the past, and seeing how this probably played a role in naming the app, it sadly kind of feels like Memrise is going through an identity crisis. Also, Memrise used to have courses made by the community. However, these have recently been removed from the main website, and their fate is currently unknown. While Memrise has not explicitly stated that they would delete these courses for good, I'm honestly worried about their future. So yeah, Memrise is not off to a very good start now. And now, before you get mad in the comments, yes, I know Memrise has implemented new features, such as use the words you've learned with AI, because, AI is so important nowadays. And as much as I appreciate Memrise's efforts to redeem itself after removing memes and likely deleting community-made courses in the future, it still doesn't compare to Duolingo. Adding an AI feature is cool and all, but it honestly feels pointless because if you really want AI to help you practice conversation, then you can just ask ChatGPT or any random AI to help. Such AIs were already programmed to operate in many languages, and they are able to help you practice, and this unfortunately makes the idea of adding AI to a language learning app unoriginal and ultimately pointless. And before we officially conclude this round, I guess we should talk about what languages you can learn on both apps. Now, if you're worried that both apps have a limited number of languages, and yes, I'm looking at you, Babbel, then fear not. Although both apps follow a similar approach to Babbel by making certain languages only available if you speak X language, unlike Babbel, they are not limited to a certain set of languages. And whereas Babbel is limited to these languages, here is what Duolingo has to offer. And here's what Memrise has to offer. So I think you guys can understand why I didn't make language selection a separate section in this video, as it would have been difficult to choose a winner. But with that said, who is the winner for the first round? Well, seeing how the experience got better in one case and worse in the other, I obviously have to choose the one whose experience has improved. So with all that into account, the winner for the first round is Duolingo. Now, even though both apps are free, there are still some things you can get without spending money. For this round, I decided to give the crown to whichever app offers more without spending. Because in my opinion, if you are to make your app free and make most of the experience premium, then just don't make your app free to begin with, right? But I digress, that's a debate for another video. So let's start. Here is a quick summary of what premium features each app offers. Super Duolingo gives you access to unlimited lives, a no ads experience, legendary challenges, speaking and listening practice, and a mistakes review feature. Memrise Pro gives you access to a no ads experience, all its vocabulary features, grammar exercises, verb conjugation exercises, linguistic and cultural insights, and roleplay sequences. Yeah, don't ask me about that one. Anyway, price-wise, both offer different plans. For Duo, you have 12 months for a family of 2 to 6 for $13.34 per month, an annual individual subscription for $9.99 per month, and a monthly subscription for $19.99. And as for Memrise, you have a lifetime plan for $344.99, an annual plan for $122.99, and a monthly plan for $35.99. Have you guys also noticed the differences in both content locked behind a paywall and pricing? Memrise gives you access to a ton of interesting content, but your experience is extremely limited if you don't use Pro, whereas you don't really need Super Duolingo to use most of the app, as you wouldn't be missing much without it. And even if I like what Memrise Pro offers, Super Duolingo offers a little less at a more affordable price. This round is really tough because one offers meh advantages but is cheap, and the other offers decent advantages at a higher price. But considering how the core essence of Duolingo is already available in the free version and how its premium version is cheaper than Memrise's, the winner, for me, is Duolingo. Alright, now this is the big one. This section is about the sentences you are taught, and the app with the most useful sentences wins. First off, Duolingo. Being the most popular app of the two, I'm pretty sure my audience has tried Duolingo at least once and are aware of its rather funny sentences like, "Now you have no friends, he likes balls," and "I eat your pink strawberry?" Yeah, I know, I'm genuinely shocked about this too, but to be honest, I do see a positive in this. I had a conversation with a friend of mine about this recently, and he did point out that although these sentences are strange, they are still helpful to learn because, after all, most people tend to learn better when they are taught in a silly way. Heck, even Asimil does it! But although this and its game-like aspect make the learning experience more memorable, it doesn't really put the words and sentences in a useful context. So yeah, it ruins the whole thing for this section. Meanwhile, Memrise teaches you words and sentences in a real-life setting. And as I mentioned earlier, for each sentence you are given the pronunciation by native speakers, which helps learners understand how these sentences are used in real-life situations. The natives even read the sentences as they would in real life. For example, if it's a happy question like, "How are you?" they say it in a happy manner.
How are you? How are you?
And if they're supposed to be confused, as in, "I don't understand," they act confused.
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
Great touch, isn't it? And best of all, the sentences you are taught actually make sense in a real-life setting. You don't get stuff like, "The giraffe plays golf with the lion," or "Where is the pink shark shirt?" It's the experience most people are looking for when they want to learn a foreign language. Real-life examples, and not random word combinations. So, for this round, to no surprise, the winner is Memrise. At the end of the day, both apps are serviceable. They both have a unique structure, offer different advantages if you decide to use the premium version, and have a different approach to learning. Before making this video, I was sure that Memrise would win most of, if not all 3 rounds. But as I was writing the script for this video, and looking at each app to make a comparison inside my head, I really was not expecting to like Duolingo more than Memrise. What perhaps shocked me the most was that most of what had made Memrise so appealing in its first few years was now reduced to something inferior. I like the addition of clips featuring native speakers, but this new version doesn't compare to the old Memrise because they took away so much. Anyway, it's time for my ratings. Duolingo gets an 8 out of 10, and Memrise gets a 6.5. Overall, while both apps still have value depending on what you're looking for, Duolingo just feels like a more complete and polished experience right now. Memrise still has potential, but it would need to revisit some of the features that originally made it stand out if it wants to seriously compete again. I appreciate Memrise's focus on real-world language clips, but the overall learning journey feels less cohesive compared to Duolingo. If you're a beginner or someone looking for a casual, gamified way to practice every day, then Duolingo is the better choice. But whichever one you prefer in the end really comes down to you.